Welcome to Orenda Books at Bedtime. I'm Karen Sullivan, publisher of Orenda Books, and tonight we're revisiting a brilliant book, Eve Smith's startling debut, The Waiting Rooms. She read for us a couple of months ago, and she's back tonight to read another section of this prescient book. Unbelievably, as The Guardian pointed out, this was written long before the current pandemic, and it deals with another kind of pandemic which can and will be caused, unless we make some changes, by antibiotic resistance. But apart from that, it's a beautiful read. It's sweeping, it's magical, it's tense and dark. It's very much a thriller. She's been compared to Michael Crichton. I won't read the back of this to you because I know that you've heard her reading before, but I will turn you over to her now at her home in Oxfordshire, where she'll be reading from this immense debut. Over to you, Eve.
Hello, thanks so much for joining me. I am going to be reading from my book, The Waiting Rooms. But first, Karen asked me just to give a little bit of an introduction, a bit of context. So, The Waiting Rooms is set before, during, and after an antibiotic crisis, where drugs effectively no longer work. And there have been quite a few parallels in the book with what is happening with our current coronavirus pandemic, even though I wrote this book a long time before the COVID-19 materialised. But there are parallels, and sadly, coronavirus is actually making antibiotic resistance worse because of the sheer volume of drugs that are being used to treat the secondary bacterial infections. So imagine, it's terrible enough now not having drugs to treat the virus, but imagine if we didn't have any drugs to treat the secondary infections, the pneumonias, the respiratory tract infections that have just been horrendous and responsible for a large amount of fatalities. So my hope is that governments, they've seen the perils of ignoring or not dealing effectively with a global health emergency. And my hope is that they will step up and deal not just with COVID-19, but also with this other global emergency of antibiotic resistance. So let's wait and see what happens. Okay, so I will be reading a bit from the sort of middle of the book set during the crisis. And we join Mary, who is a research scientist, and she's on her way back from securing some black market venison because there is no longer any meat available through rationing because all the farm stock has had to be culled because of disease. Up ahead, a pair of rusting metal gates are propped against a green barn with a corrugated iron roof. Ivy straggles over the walls of empty pens. I glance up at the farmhouse. Damp cobwebs cling to lichen-coated stones. No face appears at any window. I skirt round the building onto the cobbled drive that leads down to the road, and that's when I see him. A small boy, hanging over the gate in front of the cattle grid. He kicks the gatepost with one listless foot, as if it's just another day. I kill the radio and skid to a stop. I keep the engine running. There's never been anyone at the farm before. The boy looks up. He has hollow cheeks, sunken eyes, no mask. He hesitantly lifts a hand. It's more of a question than a wave. This is no coincidence. He's been waiting for me. I swallow, trying to get some moisture into my mouth. That gate is the only thing that separates me from home. My instincts tell me to flee, that this is some kind of trap. I imagine a sweat-sodden man barrelling out of the farmhouse, clambering into the car, his phlegmy breath coughing into my face. The boy's jaw pumps as if it's gearing itself up for something. I keep my foot on the pedal. The gate is flanked by a stone wall on one side and a barbed wire fence on the other. Both look pretty robust. I scan the fields behind. The ground's too soggy. If I try to go round, I could get stuck. I lower my window an inch. Sorry, can I help you? His lip trembles. My mum. My heart sinks. I know what's coming. Please, can you take her to the hospital? My eyes squeeze shut. Listen to me. A hospital is the worst possible place to be right now. His eyebrows knit together. She's got the sickness. They can help her. No, I say, softening my voice. They can't. I think of the news feeds, rows of beds all squashed together, people hunched over bowls slumped on floors. The doctors don't have any medicine that works, and they already have more patients than they can cope with. Your mum's much better off here in the fresh air, away from... Why? He thumps his hand against the metal bar. The force of it makes me start. Why can't they make her better? Now the tears come. He cuffs them back. That's what doctors are supposed to do, isn't it? Make people better? My heart burns. I'm so sorry. Right now, the best thing for her is rest. He glowers at me. You know, people do recover. My platitude sticks in my throat. The survival rate for this TB is 40% at best, and that's assuming nothing else takes hold. What's your name? I ask gently. Peter. How old are you, Peter? He juts out his chin. Nearly 11? Is it just you and your mum at the farm? He hesitates and nods. The boy looks as skinny as hell, but there are no other indications that the disease is active. Do you know how to use the gateway? He frowns. Of course. So you understand who to contact if you need help. His eyes drop to the ground. He gives the post a violent kick, and the gate hurtles back. Where's your mask, Peter? He doesn't answer. It's important to wear one, to stop getting sick. He grinds his tooth over his lip. Didn't stop her, did it? Part of me, the selfish part, wants to hit the accelerator, but I can't just knock this child off the gate and abandon him. I swallow. Maybe not, but if you're going to look after your mum, you need to try and stay strong. I sneak a quick glance at the farmhouse. All is quiet. I check my mask, take a deep breath, and open my door. Peter eyes me warily. I walk round to the boot, the back of my neck tingling. When I flip the lid, his eyes widen, but he doesn't let go of the gate. It's okay. I'm just getting something. I haul the deer leg out of the boot, brandishing it with both hands. Take this, he scowls. It's venison, deer meat, very nutritious, packed with protein and iron. That'll help your mum. It's tasty too, but don't overcook it. He doesn't budge. You're just trying to get me off this gate. I can't help but smile. This boy's smart as well as brave. Maybe I am, but everything I've told you is true, and when I come again I'll bring you more. His head tilts. How do I know you'll come back? Because it's a promise. He blinks. People break promises. All the time. It kills me. He's only a child and he's all grown up. Well, I say, I'm not one of those people. I see the conflict in his freckled brown eyes, the lack of trust. He slides off the gate. His feet scuff towards me, pushing up the dirt. As he gets closer, I realise just how scrawny he is. His clothes look as though they belong to an older brother. My heart twists. Maybe they did. I hand him the dark red stump of flesh. Can you manage? He staggers a little and nods. I ferret in my bag for a card. Any problems, you call this number. There's an email too in case the lines go down. We stand there a moment, unwilling to move. My arms reach out and pull him close. It's a clumsy gesture, but the boy doesn't flinch. I can feel his back rising and falling as he gulps soft, quick breaths. The hunk of deer presses into my ribs, a fleshy bulk between us. I let him go. I slam the boot and heave myself back into the car. Keep your doors locked. Don't hang around outside. Anyone comes apart from me or the food truck, don't answer, okay? Okay. My window slides up. The purifier whirs discreetly. As the car rattles over the cattle grid, I watch the boy totter back to the farmhouse, clutching the leg. And, just like that, another slice of my humanity withers.
Thank you so much. This is an odd time for a debut author to have a book published. Um, everything's been moved around and there's a lot of competition out there and no real events, and that's how we do a lot of our marketing at Orenda Books. So I would love it if you would support her. There's quite a few podcasts and online interviews with Eve, and she's utterly fascinating. She's working on book 2, but for now, let's support the waiting rooms, and it's just incredible. But thank you very much for listening, and we'll see you next week for another episode of Orenda Books at Bedtime.